There's this fascinating thing about meditation. Even when your thoughts slow to a trickle or vanish completely, something still lingers, this sense of me. But what is that me? Is it real? The mind, clever and limited as it is, tries to make sense of something infinite, this awareness we all are. It's like seeing a reflection in a mirror and thinking, that's who I am. But what if the reflection isn't the whole picture? By exploring this me, questioning it and shifting attention to the awareness that watches it all, something profound happens. You begin to see that the me isn't wrong. It's just a tiny part of the story. And beyond it, a sense of freedom, peace, and your limitless self waiting to be realized. A very helpful pointer is to stop and ask, who is the mind talking to? It's such a simple question, yet its implications are profound. The voice feels intimate, as though it's addressing someone. But who exactly is on the receiving end of this endless dialogue? And why do we mistakenly take the I thought as who we are? To truly explore this question, we must first examine what we commonly take for granted, the idea of me. This me feels solid and real, an entity at the core of all our experiences. It's the one who seems to think, feel, and live through life. But have you ever closely observed this sense of me? What is it really? When you look carefully, the answers may surprise you. Let's start by recognizing a simple truth. What we call life is a continuous flow of experiences, sensations, thoughts, emotions, images, and perceptions. These rise and fall within awareness like waves on an ocean. One moment there's joy, the next a pang of sadness, a memory of childhood surfaces, then a thought about dinner plans, then an itch on your arm. These are fleeting, ever-changing phenomena, yet all of them are witnessed, known, and observed. If you pause and examine closely, you'll notice that you too are observing these waves of experiences. In fact, you're not the waves themselves, you are the one witnessing them. This witnessing is constant, unchanging, and effortless, even as the content of your experience shifts from moment to moment. You are not the thoughts, not the feelings, not even the body. You are the awareness within which these occur. Now, here's where things get fascinating. Our minds are masterful storytellers. They create an ongoing narrative, weaving together thoughts, memories, and feelings to craft an identity, the me. This sense of self feels like a separate, solid entity, but when you closely investigate this me, it begins to dissolve under scrutiny. It turns out that what we call me is not a fixed, unchanging thing. It's simply another layer of thoughts and feelings arising within the field of awareness. So when the mind talks, it creates an illusion, the illusion that it is speaking to this separate me. Thoughts arise, and then other thoughts seem to respond. A voice inside comments, analyzes, and questions, creating the impression of an inner dialogue. But here's the truth. No entity is actually sitting behind the mind, listening and replying. It's as though the mind is talking to itself in circles, trying to sustain the illusion of a conversational partner. Beneath the layers of thought and emotion, what remains constant is the witnessing presence, the pure awareness in which all experiences appear and disappear. This witnessing is your true nature. It has no form, no shape, no desires, and no opinions. It is simply there, effortlessly knowing all that arises. But why does this erroneous identification happen in the first place, one might ask? We identify so strongly with the sense of I because it's deeply tied to something much more fundamental, the pure awareness of being, or the feeling of simply I am. This sense of beingness, the quiet recognition that you exist, comes before all thoughts, ideas, or identities. It's like the foundation on which everything else is built. But here's where things get complicated. The mind, with its habit of turning everything into concepts, grabs onto this pure awareness and creates a story around it. It forms a limited, separate sense of self, an I that feels tied to the body, the thoughts, the emotions, and the things we call ours. In doing this, the mind transforms something infinite and indescribable, this awareness, into something small and confined. This happens because the mind, by its very nature, can't truly understand what pure awareness is. Awareness isn't a concept, it's the very thing that allows concepts to exist in the first place. The mind, unable to leave it undefined, interprets this vast awareness through its own lens, turning it into a personal, separate self. Think about it. Before any thought or feeling arises, what is there? Just the simple knowing that you exist. This sense of I am comes first, untouched by labels or judgments. It's the essence of who you are, and everything else, your ideas, memories, possessions, gets added later, layered on top by the mind. When we start to question this process, we can shift our attention from the mind story of I back to the pure awareness itself. Instead of identifying with the thoughts that say, I am this, or I feel that, we focus on the raw, simple knowing of being that's always there, even before any thought of I. In doing so, we begin to see the truth. The I that the mind creates is just an interpretation. The mind borrows the feeling of awareness, of the limitless consciousness that underlies everything, and turns it into a concept of separateness. But this concept is not who you truly are. Your real self is the awareness that exists beyond all ideas, all boundaries, and all identities. By observing this process and gently turning your attention to the awareness itself, you start to see through the illusion of a limited self. What remains is the pure, infinite presence of who you have always been. Let's test this idea. Right now, assume, I am not the thinker of my thoughts, I am the awareness of those thoughts. Notice how thoughts come and go, a memory pops up. Who sees it? A sensation arises. Who is aware of it? The mind may claim ownership of these thoughts and experiences, but does the witnessing itself lay any such claim? No, the witnessing just observes. If you look deeply enough, you'll find that the I who seems to think, feel, and act is not a real separate being. It's an illusion perpetuated by the mind itself. When thoughts arise, try asking, who is the mind talking to? Each time you'll find no entity behind the mind, only the witnessing. Here's the extraordinary thing. The mind talks, but it talks to itself. It produces thoughts, and then more thoughts arise to engage with the first. This internal dialogue creates a sense of self-involvement that feels intensely personal. Yet it's all just mental activity, thoughts interacting with thoughts. The mind generates an I thought, a sense of identity, and then other thoughts seem to revolve around it. This I thought feels closely tied to our sense of consciousness, making it feel incredibly real. But when you investigate, this I thought is revealed to be just that. A thought, like a shadow mistaken for something solid. It loses its apparent power once it is seen clearly. What remains is pure witnessing, untouched by the mental chatter. One of the mind's cleverest tricks is to claim it wants to be free of itself. It tells a story about how exhausting and endless its chatter is, how it longs for silence or peace. But even this desire, this I want to be free thought, comes from the mind. It's another mental layer. To see through this, you need to catch the subtle workings of the mind. For example, when the thought arises, I'm tired of thinking, ask yourself, who is tired of thinking? Again, you'll find no entity. just a thought about freedom arising in awareness. This inquiry exposes the mind's layers for what they are, ephemeral movements within witnessing. Pure witnessing is effortless. Thoughts, emotions, and perceptions come and go, and the witnessing remains untouched by them. It does not judge, react, or interfere. It simply observes. When you fully embody this witnessing, the identification with the mind begins to dissolve. You no longer see yourself as a thinker trapped in endless loops of dialogue. You recognize that all this mental activity arises and falls away on its own with no one behind it. With time, this recognition becomes natural. It isn't limited to moments of meditation or inquiry. It permeates everyday life. Whether washing dishes, stuck in traffic, or having a heartfelt conversation, you come to rest in the silent witnessing of what is. Life becomes less about control and more about flow, less about achieving and more about being. The ego, the I that the mind creates, turns out to be a master of disguise. One moment it's a perfectionist demanding excellence, the next it's a victim lamenting life's struggles. It changes masks constantly, depending on circumstances. But ask yourself, are you all these identities, or are you the witnessing presence within which these roles come and go? In the light of inquiry, the ego's shifting forms are exposed, and what remains is the stable, unchanging awareness that you truly are. This awareness doesn't grasp at the roles or resist them, it simply observes them. When you truly see yourself as pure witnessing, something remarkable happens. The layers of false self, the ego's many masks, begin to fall away. What remains is your authentic nature, spacious, peaceful, and whole. This isn't a theoretical understanding. It's an experiential knowing that comes from direct observation. In this state, the mind's chatter loses its grip. It becomes background noise rather than a constant battle. You no longer seek to silence the mind forcefully because you see it for what it is, a collection of fleeting thoughts without a central thinker. Life becomes lighter. Freed from the illusion of a separate me, you move through the world with ease and clarity. The witnessing presence, which you always were, shines forth unobscured. This inquiry, who is the mind talking to, isn't something you do once and forget. It's a practice to be integrated into daily life. Again and again, bring your attention to witnessing. Let this recognition permeate your being. Over time, the lines between self and other blur, and you rest in the understanding that all of it arises in awareness. So who is the mind talking to? No one. It talks to itself. And you are the silent witness, beyond words and thoughts, eternal and free.
What do you think? Turn your mics on if you want to share.
Yeah,
Yeah, hi, Kim.
I'll share. Hi. You know what this reminds me of is Michael Singer, the author of The Untethered Soul.
Mm-hmm.
How you watch what you're thinking, and I guess it's the awareness, the witness of watching what we are thinking. If the I is just the ego, and one thing I was watching last night, I don't know if anyone knows Joe Dispenza. He's a neurologist, pretty popular, but he was talking about thoughts and like they're just habits. Like when you wake up in the morning, and if I'm like, oh, it's going to be a crappy day, or oh, am I going to hurt today in my back, or blah blah. He says 90% of those thoughts throughout the morning, day, evening, they're automatic and they repeat day after day after day, those thoughts. So we can We can change our thoughts. 90% of those thoughts. I was pretty
It's more than 90%.
okay. I believe it.
And there's a paradox here that's really interesting. We can change our thoughts, and yet to grasp the, the deepest truth of what it is we just listened to, there's no need to change the thoughts. Because what's the next thought that's going to come in when you think about needing to change your thoughts? I need to change my thoughts, which is to say that everything is not okay the way it is. You could start to see how this whole thing just layers itself over and over. It's all self-contained within this structure we call the mind, the habitual thinking. Let me give you an example of exactly how this mind works. You finish dinner, you're at a party, there's a plate full of cake over there in the corner. And the mind comes in and says, ooh, look at that cake. You know, ooh, I want to have a piece of that cake. So you go and you have a piece of the cake. 30 seconds later, the same mind says, you know, I wouldn't have done that if I were you. And this is what we go to for guidance.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea of stepping into the being aware of being aware of being aware
Mm-hmm.
is the moment you're into that and aware of being aware, you're outside of the mind. You're outside of the thought stream. And that's enough. That's enough. Yes, there are habitual thoughts that come. That's not the issue. The issue is we believe them, we think we are them, and we keep re-engaging with them. And so that engaging of that is what keeps perpetuating and generating more fuel and more suffering. So stepping back, if you will, into this space, we've all been here. It's just that we don't pay attention to it. The mind itself discounts the space of awareness because it says, oh, that's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But it turns out to be the infinite. It's just that the finite mind can't wrap its head around, literally, can't wrap its head around the infinite. So it constructs stories around the whole thing. And so there is something, because there's a whole lot of this, like, oh, you know, change your thoughts, change your reality. Right. But there are so many traps in that, including the idea that the mind is capable of knowing what it is that would actually make it peaceful and happy. That's the big one. And then we go, okay, tell me, what do I need? What do I want to be? Mind is equals to really mind/ego/body. That's a one complex field. When there's something that's much greater that actually, when we let go of trying to find the answers in the mind itself, then we get moved into the places in ourself and within our actions in the world that actually stem from the true depth of what we are, which is pure awareness, pure peace, and pure happiness. In the Hindu yogic world, all is Brahman, which is source, God. Mm-hmm. And the nature of Brahman, which is what we actually are when we're not caught in the mind, whether we're caught in the mind or not, we are Brahman. It's just that we lose awareness of it when we're caught in the mind. When we step back and we get out of that and we step into the identity of what we truly are, what's called the nature of our true nature of Brahman, one and the same. The Sanskrit term for it is Sat Chit Ananda, existence, truth, bliss. And so the whole practice is to start to watch and keep stepping back into awareness. Let go, step back into awareness. It's the thing that catches us is we suffer from a case of mistaken identity. We think we're the thoughts. We think we're the mind. We think we're that voice that's talking to us. It's actually insane.
Yes, I would agree.
It is. It really is. And so again, somebody says, "Oh, my mind is driving me crazy. I got to try to stop it." Good luck with that one. Because it's the engagement with that that's fueling it. So the way out is to simply let it be. Step back. What is it in us? What is it in you that has never changed? Are the cells in your body? No, there's not a single cell in your body that's the same when you were born. Not one. And if that's the case, how could you be the body? Because you would have been gone. If what you acted out was in the body, you would have been gone already. So it can't be that. Okay, well, I'm the mind, I'm mine, I'm the thoughts. Oh, really? Which thought is still around from the very first thought you ever had? Which thought is still around from 36 seconds ago? Can't be. Cannot be the mind. I cannot be my thoughts. But the thought comes in that's constantly reinforced, says, I am my thoughts. We just don't know any better. We believe it. I am my emotions. I am my feelings. That's a big one. That one caught me for decades. Oh, really? Which feeling is present right now that wasn't there 2 hours ago? Which is there now that was there 2 hours ago? Zero. Which memory? Zero. Which breath? Zero. What is present now that was present 2 seconds ago, 2 minutes ago, 2 hours ago, 2 years ago, 2 decades ago, 2 lifetimes ago? What is there that has never changed? What's the same in you as you that's been there when you were 2 days old, 10 years old, 20, 30? What?
Nothing.
This quiet, infinite
Nothing.
quietness. What we call nothing is actually everything.
Right.
That's never changed. That's what is known as I am, with nothing else attached to it. Total presence, total being, total existence. So that first thought of I and I am is actually not what we are. It's just that's the first manifestation of thought. So what's beyond that? That's what we are. Woody Allen, when he was doing his nightclub routines, said his wife went back to NYU and she took a philosophy class and she came back home and tried to convince him he didn't exist. And it was really funny the way he said it, right? But it turns out it was true. This thing that we call I, where is it? When you take a really good look at it, there is nothing. It's just a thought piled on top of a thought, on top of a thought. And if we're not our thoughts, this thing that the mind incessantly calls I does not exist. There's no substance anywhere for it. Now, for some people, that's a very freak out thought because it can destabilize everything you think you are.
Good.
Yeah. You start to see through it. You start to see through it. And then when the mind comes up with whatever habitual thought pattern it comes up with, you start to see through it. You don't engage with it so much anymore. And that is what takes the power away from it. That's the disconnection. That's taking the power away from the ego. And then the thoughts come, the thoughts go. They're still going to run habitually for a while because we've invested so much energy and momentum into them. They're going to still do stuff for a while. But it's like unplugging it's like in a motorboat in the ocean, and you unplug the motor, and the boat's going to go for a little while, but it's going to slow down pretty fast. And then all of a sudden, there's more space between the moments of these thoughts arising. And because the reality, capital R, for us to experience is not in the thought. It's in the space between the thought. And then that's the place where true guidance can come in. Have you ever had this experience where you need to know something, or you not even thinking about it, but something all of a sudden just pops into your space? Or you've been working on a problem, and you're thinking it through. There's times to use your mind intentionally. What we've been talking about tonight so far is habitual thinking. But there's times to use your mind intentionally. That's fine, because the mind is a great tool. Wonderful servant, horrible master. So we work on a problem or something, and then you let it go. Letting go of it, take a hot shower, take a run, whatever you want to do. And all of a sudden, its spaciousness opens up in the mind space, and then something that shows up. You didn't rationalize your way through. And Einstein said he didn't get relativity through the use of his rational mind. And there are lots of brilliant people who said it came through, just popped in. Where's that come from? The infinite. Why did it come in that moment? Because you let go of the habitual thinking enough to have space for it to arise. Now, imagine moving through your life in that way all the time. Trusting that infinite flow through you as you will give you exactly what you need to know the moment you need to know it, so you can act on it. Imagine trusting this so deeply that you can completely relax into it. There's the source of our safety, right there. So there's no thoughts to work out, to work through. You step back, you work with it. Then you may get some desires, like okay, I want to go write this book. I want to create this piece of music. I want to do this piece of art. I want to, whatever it is. You can feel it coming from that deep place in you. Fine. You are then given what you need to bring that out into expression. But the habitual thinking mind does not know what is in your best interest. Because it's disconnected from the infinite. And so we just let that go, and things open up in our consciousness, and then we're given what we need exactly at the right time in the right way. And that's the flow state. Capital F. Capital F, flow. So back to Michael Singer, that now comes back to the place of allowing whatever needs to flow through your experience to flow through your experience.
Mm-hmm.
Feeling safe enough to allow any feeling that wants to come. Because what's going to come is the old, undigested, things that we've blocked out of awareness because we felt like it's not okay to feel that or it's not safe to feel that. Basically leftovers from childhood along with the leftover thought that it's not safe to feel.
Mm-hmm.
And so as you let it all go, then your things start to naturally flow. And that shows up in the physical body. Okay. Mm-hmm. Before we go into the next meditation,
Made me smile. Sorry to interrupt.
No.
Made me smile when, the first thing you said after all of this discussion and what we listened to is, so what do you think?
I know. I totally was
That's
aware
great.
of that. My
It was
mind
perfect.
has quite a sense of humor, let me tell you.
There you go.
It does.
I like that.
It does. You guys know me well enough. You've heard things coming out of my mouth is like, and I know where that comes from a very deep place in me. Like, and so it's not like the habitual thinking part.
Yeah, God has a sense of humor, right?
God has a total sense of humor.
But it also, when I was listening to the recording, I also thought of Michael Singer. I think he's the one who said that, it's like we create this inner movie
Mm-hmm.
that, the dialogue, the thoughts, the feelings, and we respond to it as if it's real.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we're in a movie theater watching a movie, we get into it so much that our heart's beating fast or we're crying or whatever, as if it's real. But just like in a movie theater, we can step back and realize it's just a movie,
Just a movie, right.
And
That's
we can do that internally too.
Yeah.
I think that was Michael Singer. Yeah.
Regardless of who said it, it's true.
Yeah,
We get lost in the mental projection.
Yeah, right.
We do. We get lost in the mental projection. And trust me, there's more of that going on the planet right now because of the political situation, and it's going to get more intense.
Mm-hmm.
People are not seeing reality. They're seeing their projections of reality that are increasingly mixed with emotions of fear.
Mm.
So it's more imperative than ever that we see through this game. Because frankly, the world at large needs people like us to walk around in a deeper state of peace because we emanate what it is we walk around in.
Yeah.
And it's not easy. I mean, I come in and out of dealing with some pretty deep things here based on what's going on, which I think, a lot of people do.
Yeah.
This is actually part of what the spiritual evolution and growth is for now. We get a chance to number one, there's a need to anchor into much more deeply the things we're talking about here tonight. And the need drives that. And so we get to take advantage of that.
Yeah. There's more need for it, more intense.
Right.
What is it? Pain is a motivator. So all of this craziness out there is a motivator to create more inner peace. Makes sense.
If you're using it consciously, that's what it is. If you're unconscious about it, you get sucked more into it.
Sucked more into, what do you mean?
Into the fear and the separation, and absolutely, we're seeing it live, real time.
Yeah.
we're seeing it.
Yeah, and it's a ping pong effect.
It is. It is.
Just keeps escalating.
Right. So we do our spiritual practices, not just for us. We do it for the good of the collective.
Yeah. Right.
There's frankly no separation of anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Let me put this next one on. This is Jayasara Samanyeri, who is a Buddhist nun from Australia. Fabulous voice. I've sent this to many of you. Some of her, and she just takes the words of the various sages and stitches them together, and then puts together these fantastic meditations. This is one from Nisargadatta, and this is called. And this is going to extend what it is we've been talking about tonight. It's called Beyond the I Am. Let me put this on. Here we go. You could do this one with your eyes closed.
I am awareness beyond I am. Understanding the I am, your sense of being, or just presence, is extremely important, as on it rests the entire outcome of the teaching. You have to be before anything else can be. Your sense of presence, or the feeling I am, is really fundamental to anything that has to follow. The sense of being, or the feeling I am, was it not the very first event or happening before any of your living experiences could begin? Apply your mind. Go back in time and try to recollect the moment when, for the first time, it dawned on you that you are, or I am. This nascent I am is without words or non-verbal. This I am is still there with you, ever present, ever available. It was and still is the first thought. Refuse all other thoughts and come back there and stay there Establish yourself firmly in the I am and reject all that does not go with it. Only the I am is certain. It's impersonal. All knowledge stems from it. It's the root. Hold on to it and let all else go. When the I am goes, all that remains is the Absolute. Give all your attention to the I am. The I am is the sum total of all that you perceive. It's time-bound. The I am itself is an illusion. You are not the I am. You are prior to it. Immortality is freedom from the feeling I am. To have that freedom, remain in the sense I am. The beginning and the end of knowledge is the I am. Be attentive to the I am. Once you understand it, you are apart from it. You must meditate on the I am without holding onto the body-mind. The I am is the first ignorance. Persist on it, and you will go beyond it. Your guru, your God, is the I am. With its coming came duality and all activity. Stay on the I am. You are before the I am appeared. Remain focused on the I am until it goes into oblivion. Then the eternal is. The absolute is. Para-Brahman is. Remember the knowledge I am only, and give up the rest. Staying in the I am, you will realize that it is unreal. Understand that the knowledge I am has dawned on you, and all are its manifestations. In this understanding, you realize you are not the I am. When this concept I am departs, there will be no memory left that I was and I had those experiences. The very memory will be erased. With the arrival of the primary concept, I am, time began. With its departure, time will end. You, the Absolute, are not the primary concept, I am. Appearance and disappearance, birth and death. These are the qualities of I am. They do not belong to you, the Absolute. Out of the nothingness, the I am or beingness has come. There is no individual. The knowledge I am, not the individual, has to go back to its source. By meditating on the knowledge I am, it gradually settles down at its source and disappears. Then you are the Absolute. Go on to know the I am without words. You must be that and not deviate from it for even a moment. And then it will disappear. Get stabilized in the primary concept, I am, in order to lose it. and be free from all concepts. In understanding the unreality of I am, you are totally free from it. Sitting quietly, being one with the knowledge I am, you will lose all concern with the world. Then the I am will also go, leaving you as the Absolute. Putting aside everything, stabilize in the I am. As you continue with this practice, in the process you will transcend the I am. Keep focused on the I am until you become a witness to it. Then you stand apart. You have reached the highest. When you remain in the I am, you will realize everything else is useless. And then you are Parabrahman, the Absolute. The one who abides in that principle by which they know I am, knows all, and does not require anything. Just sit and know that you are the I am without words. Nothing else has to be done. Shortly, you will arrive to your natural, absolute state. You have to realize that you are not the body or the knowledge I am. You as the Absolute are neither, nor do you require them. The Absolute, or Parabrahman, is prior to the I am. It's the unborn state. So how can it have or even require the knowledge I am? You have to transcend the I am to enter the concept-free Parabrahman state, where you do not even know you are. One who has realized the knowledge I am, which means transcending it as well. For them, there is no birth or death, nor any karma.
There you have it. Problem solved. So I know there's some paradoxes in what he said, but it comes down to this. The first thought, the first concept is this sense of I am. Therefore, it becomes the portal. Everything, every thought is connected to that. So if you go right back to that root concept and you sit with it, You just stay here. It dissolves. Have you ever written your name on a piece of paper and just stared at it? Or a word? You just stare at it. You just keep staring at it. Eventually, it just falls apart. It's that kind of a thing. Martha, you raised your hand? Turn on your audio.
Yes, I would like a little your input or your thoughts on the I am, and then transcending that into the absolute.
Mm-hmm.
Can you speak to that a little bit?
Number one, given that I haven't done that, let's put that on the table. Yeah, but I'll tell you.
The philosophy of it then.
Well, no, I could tell you where I did experience it
Okay,
in a
great.
in a psychedelic state,
Okay.
where I absolutely went through the portal. And what it is it's the disillusion of the sense of I, of me, of separation. And all of a sudden, you just it's like the ultimate integration. There's just one. And you just know it. You just are it. Now, we actually are this now. It's what we come from. It's what this we, now this incarnation, this I, this, which is what he talks about. It's like if we come into being, there's a beginning and then there's an end. But it comes from the absolute, which has no beginning and end. And it dissolves back into the absolute, which has no beginning and end. So this thing we're experiencing right now, we experience as a finite being. And to the degree that we identify with this is the degree to which we are afraid of death. Because this being will dissolve. And because the being only knows itself from its birth, if you will, it believes that the death is the end because it doesn't have a direct memory of the absolute. So in one sense, he said that the starting of the being is the first ignorance, is what he said. As in ignoring what it is we truly are. And because it's the root thought, it spins off thoughts, and thoughts build on thoughts, and every one of those, imagine it taking you away from that sense of I am, getting lost and more lost and more lost in Maya, or illusion, which is being lost in the mind. And so the way out is come back to that most fundamental first concept that arose in this incarnation, that sense of I am, and stay with it. And if you'll notice in that meditation, he was kind of like shifting between I am and beyond I am, and back to I am and beyond it, because that's the membrane, that's the interface. And so between what we kind of worked with in the first video and this, if you just open up yourself, you get this sense of the infinite space. Stay with it. Thoughts will come and try to drag you in more away from it, and then you'll recognize that. But awareness is what this is. So you stay with awareness and the commitment to awareness, which is just to be remembrance of what it is we are.
Yeah.
And then that lets go of that rabbit hole of thinking on top of thinking on top of thinking. And then we're hovering on the event horizon of the primary concept I am. And then it eventually dissolves. It becomes thinner, thinner, thinner. And as it does, the recognition, the remembrance of our true nature becomes more prevalent. And so it's a shifting like this.
And also witnessing, right? I mean,
Witnessing is part of the, it's close, it's right there with
the observance, right?
well, the observer is the witness, is
yeah.
the
Of the I am, right? If you observe just that the entity of I am.
Witnessing and observing is the primary operation of awareness.
Right.
And then anything beyond that is caught in thinking.
Yeah, right.
And so you work your way back by stepping into awareness, into witnessing, which is right there with awareness. And then your consciousness starts to remember and live in this more.
Yeah.
You know, and then there was a time where he said, well, so the memory of this, basically of it all, is going to go away. And I could hear like everybody ego screaming, what are you talking about? I don't want to give all this up. I mean, there's the edge, because we think there's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not true. There's everything.
Yeah.
There's everything.
Eric, I'll have to log out soon because I set dinner to be ready at 8:30.
Right.
I did want to share that was a beautiful, powerful meditation.
Yeah.
It almost feels like you did this whole thing just for me. So a little bit ego talking here just for a minute. As someone who's working in this space of mind and I am, and when I've done meditations recently, when I get to a point, I see I am the void. And it's not nothing, it's everything. Mm-hmm. So when you just said that, I was like, bingo.
Mm-hmm. Bingo.
It.
Bingo.
It's nothing and everything. And sometimes people say, all these different things are the root of suffering.
Mm-hmm.
The root of peace is that complete awareness that you are nothing. The void, not nothing. You are the void and you're everything.
Mm-hmm.
Not you, like the ego you.
There is no you at that point. Exactly.
And it is absolute and complete peace.
Absolutely.
Absolute path to peace.
Yes.
So this presentation tonight, I'm sorry, I don't have the right word that you call it. I never use it properly.
Gathering.
This gathering tonight of people and these meditations you did incredibly powerful. And I talk to a lot of people throughout my days, and there are a lot of people that are struggling and suffering, whether it's with their own internal things that are happening in their life or the external events of the world and how they perceive it. And this is a great reminder of the importance of each and every one of us working in our space to be better as a soul living this human existence. So again, apologies for a little bit of extra talking there, but it was very powerful.
That's okay.
I am glowing. And it didn't even involve a plant medicine. So there we go.
Glow in peace, my sister.
Yeah.
Glowing right there with you, Christina.
Let's all glow together.
Glow in peace. It's funny, and apologies for running over, but drop off you need. I was on a particular medicine and in a very, very clear I am total space. And everything just came together, went zip, And it was just so powerful. I screamed out, bingo!
Bingo.
Howard was in the room when I did it. I don't know where he was at the moment, but man, like this huge wave of clarity went right through me into the room.
It's funny because I don't normally use that word. I don't even know why it came to
It's
me.
a great word. It's like the only word that could have described that moment. Bingo.
Oh, this is beautiful. Keep this up.
Yeah, I know. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Eric.
Yeah.
And perhaps Eric, consider doing an in-person one at some point.
Well,
If
once
you
the
guys
year
don't-
is built, we're going to be doing
Oh,
in
man.
person. We're going to have weekend retreats, with or without medicine work sometimes, whatever it is. But yeah, this is coming.
Cool.
This is totally coming.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm in Nevada right now, but when
Well,
I'm
you
not,
just have to get your butt back here. That's all.
that's not a problem. Just have
Yeah,
to
I
come
know.
in.
No, it's absolutely happening. It's really in process.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you from the heart. And thank you for doing the work that you do.
My pleasure. It's a total joy. Blessings to everybody.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
I'm going to hang around a little if anybody wants to, as usual.
That was very powerful, Eric. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Mona. Twice in a day I get to see you. What a
Yeah.
joy, huh?
It's a pleasure
Yeah.
listening to you talk about all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Eric, is it too much to ask to share the links to the meditations that
I
you?
will. I will send when I send out the playback links for everybody. I'll put them in. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This was incredible, Eric. +1 to everything Christina said. Thank you. This is incredible.
Well, this is, we're going straight to root cause, right? As an engineer, you don't screw around with the symptoms. You go straight to root cause.
Yeah.
Once you shift on the root cause, everything shifts.
Yeah.